Hi, my name is Ron Wills, and we are the Big Idea Podcast powered by the National Association of Business Owners and Entrepreneurs. Today's focus is going to be on growing your business and what are some of the things that hinder growth in a business. And, we might get into some discussion of things that actually help generate growth. Today's guest is Josh Greene from the Mather Group. Josh, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your company.
Thanks for having me on, Ron. I appreciate it. The Mather Group is a 12-person virtual company focused on online reputation management. So mostly helping companies figure out how to improve how they look on both Google and Wikipedia.
So I'm curious about this because you hear about this online reputation. What are some of the things that you've had to grapple with or help your clients with?
A lot of times it's just helping them have their story be told fairly. Many times the internet can be a place where the loudest voices get attention. And what we're trying to do, and one of the things we often say when we're talking to clients, is we can help get some of that information back to neutral or back to facts and maybe not so much emotion around it when people search on it online.
And this is fascinating to me. Just give us a sense of when you go into this to rebuild reputation, what should our expectation be in the time frame it takes to start rebuilding?
Our typical experience has been in about 6 months, you can make pretty good progress. And the other thing that you want to be aware of is there's no miracle cure for things. It tends to be facts are facts, but maybe you don't need 7 websites all devoted to the negative facts about you in the first page of your search results.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's get into our topic today, which is how you grow your company. I was, fascinated. You had indicated that, like so many small businesses, you want to ramp up your sales efforts for growth, and that has been a little bit of a limiting factor for you. What have been your plans so far? What have you tried?
Well, we do a lot of the things you would expect of a consultancy or an agency. We publish information on our site fairly extensively. We do a weekly Ask Me Anything call for clients and people we know, which might be an area to expand a little bit. We have a weekly newsletter that goes out to about 3,000 people. And we have a cold email list that we're emailing as well, which is people we don't have as much of a relationship with. And then we do some speaking at conferences or on podcasts, which also helps with awareness.
Do you have salespeople?
We do. We have one salesperson.
And if you were to break down your sales efforts, how many sales are generated by the salesperson? How many are generated by some of the other things? Like just maybe what's like the biggest thing that generates new clients?
I would say probably 50% would be the salesperson and cold outreach, and maybe 50% would be relationships, referrals, people who we've worked with moving around companies, sort of relationship driven sales.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, in discussions that I have with my clients and peer groups, one of the things that I get them to work on first is developing an ideal client description in writing. Have you done that yet?
We have a pretty good idea. It's typically a chief communications officer at $100 million plus business, most likely in a B2B space.
Okay. Yeah, yours is you've got it, and it's short, it's brief, it's to the point. And so how does that help you having that defined?
It does a nice job for us when we're doing any sort of paid material, and also when we're creating content, thinking about what would be appropriate for that audience. Probably the opening is how to get more in front of that audience in terms of tactics or things like that. But certainly knowing who we're trying to reach really helps a lot in terms of targeting our efforts.
You know what, it focuses effort. And I can't tell you how many times speaking with small business owners, if they don't define that, it's amazing how many problems result down the road where the salespeople are gathering up wrong potential clients for the firm. And there's a lot of friction there because they're not the right client. They're not in the target range. And the salespeople try to make things fit. Have you ever had that kind of situation?
I was gonna say, I was smiling listening to you say that, because the first few years were very much the stereotypical agency. Oh, you're willing to pay us money? By all means, we can be email marketing experts, or we can update your high school stats online. So I would say we have done that. It's obviously very motivating to have learned from that to dial in that target. And certainly one of the pieces of advice I would give to newer companies is the more you can do that up front, you'll avoid a lot of hard knocks learning.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. If you don't define it, everybody, well, not everybody, but most everybody is a prospect, when in reality, your prospect may be you, as you just mentioned, your defined ideal customer. It's very specific, very defined. And when you know that, everybody can then see type of person out. Where does that person hang out? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Facebook, or whatever it may be? Yeah, that's good. So help out other small business owners. What have you tried that hasn't worked?
We originally, in the beginning, tried a little bit of outbound phone calls. I think that did not work because we didn't really know exactly who our audience was at that point. And the other thing that you need to be careful of, we did a decent amount of paid ads. And the challenge is, especially in the space we're in, you need some signifiers of your own reputation. Like, most C-level executives are not going to Google and searching for reputation management and then picking a company that comes up. They're probably building off of relationships they know, or using Google to confirm information they have. So I think that was one of the things that we might have overlooked, and that can be useful, is sort of demonstrating your own credibility in whatever way your industry allows you to, before you start doing some of the typical paid marketing playbook that you would expect.
Yeah, that's a great tip. That's a great tip. Let me ask you a question. When you go about making strategic decisions for your company, whether you expand your services, contract your services, whether you try different things in sales or operations or whatever, who do you seek out for counsel, for feedback?
I would say we start with the people on the team here, and sort of talk together in terms of, when the account managers are talking to clients on a day-to-day basis, are they talking about other needs that they have in similar or adjacent areas? I also have a sounding board of a number of other entrepreneurs, and that's been helpful. Sometimes just laying out what you're thinking about clarifies and forces you to clarify your thinking, because it is certainly tempting when you're grinding away at growing your business to think about the new shiny object that seems very like a new and untapped opportunity versus realizing sometimes when it sounds like you've talked to everyone in the universe, you may have only talked to 1 or 2% of your actual total addressable market. So sometimes just keeping your head down on the main thing is where some of those conversations come around to.
Well, I want to thank you very, very much for being with us today on the Big Idea podcast, and best wishes to you. I think you got an exciting future.
Thanks, Ron. I appreciate you having me on.